What might it feel like to stroll through the quiet streets of 1924 as lanterns glow in windows and the world hums softly with change? The gramophone plays somewhere in the distance, the air holds the scent of coal fires and rain, and time itself seems to slow, inviting us to pause and listen. Welcome, dear listener. I am Toro, and tonight I invite you to drift back with me into the year 1924. This was a year balanced delicately between the shadows of the past and the possibilities of the future. A time when the memories of war were still present, yet people longed for peace, for progress, for simple joys in everyday life. Imagine yourself wrapped in a blanket, the world outside your window hushed as we travel gently through the landscapes of this year. We will wander across continents, peeking into bustling cities and quiet villages, listening to music carried on the air, glancing at newspapers with their curious headlines, and marveling at the inventions just beginning to change lives. Let this be not a lesson, but a lullaby, a slow unfolding of stories, soft enough to guide your breathing into calm, steady rhythm. Tonight, the year 1924 becomes our companion, whispering its memories like an old friend recalling days gone by. World events. The year 1924 unfolded with gentle ripples across the globe, each event adding to the tapestry of its time. In Europe, nations continued to rebuild from the destruction of the Great War. France and Germany, once fierce adversaries, sought a fragile balance. The Dawes Plan, approved this year, helped reorganize Germany's reparations, giving the nation a chance to stabilize its fragile economy. For ordinary families, this meant calmer days, fewer worries about breadlines, and a breath of relief after years of uncertainty. Farther east, the Soviet Union mourned the death of Vladimir Lenin in January. His passing left the young nation at a crossroads, and though the struggles of leadership continued behind closed doors, for many ordinary people, life carried on with quiet resilience. Fields still needed tending, factories still buzzed with noise, and children still played in courtyards. Across the Atlantic, the United States held its presidential election. Calvin Coolidge, often called Silent Cal for his quiet manner, was elected to a full term. The nation embraced his calm, steady leadership, a symbol of stability during the roaring energy of the decade. Cities sparkled with electric lights, jazz music drifted through nightclubs, and cars filled the roads with the steady hum of progress. In Asia, sweeping changes touched nations old and new. In China, political turmoil stirred as competing visions of the country's future collided, while in Turkey, Mustafa Kemal Ataturk continued to guide reforms, shaping a modern republic from the old Ottoman legacy. The world also found moments of unity. In Paris, representatives gathered for the first session of the International Court of Justice, hoping to resolve disputes with words instead of weapons. And in faraway Paris too, thousands admired the opening of the Winter Olympics in Chamonix, France, the very first of its kind. Snow-covered slopes, crisp air, and cheering crowds marked a new tradition of peaceful international gathering. Meanwhile, small stories filled the year's rhythm. Rivers flooded, harvests thrived or failed, ships carried goods across oceans, and people everywhere looked forward to tomorrow. Daily life around the world. If we step quietly into the homes of 1924, what might we see? In American cities, families gathered around radios, their glowing dials bringing music and news into living rooms. The cost of a new radio might be around $75, a considerable sum, but households saved to share in this new wonder. The sound was sometimes crackling, but magical all the same, a bridge between distant places and the warmth of one's own chair. Clothing had its own rhythm. Women favored loose dresses, often with dropped waists and cloche hats, embodying the freedom of the decade. Men wore suits for daily life, even in the heat of summer, their shoes polished carefully. Children wore knee-length socks, caps and ribbons. In villages, clothes might be patched and worn, but always tended with care. At the markets, fresh produce, tins of biscuits and bars of soap filled baskets. A loaf of bread in Britain cost just a few pennies, while in the United States, a gallon of milk could be bought for 56 cents. Families stretched their meals with stews, casseroles, and home-baked pies. Transportation was changing rapidly. Automobiles became more common, their engines coughing and rattling on cobblestone roads. The Ford Model T continued to roll off assembly lines, a sturdy companion for families daring to explore beyond their neighborhoods. In rural towns, though, horses and bicycles remained faithful means of getting around. Leisure filled evenings. Children played hopscotch marbles or hide-and-seek in dusty streets, while adults enjoyed cards, reading, or neighborhood dances. In rural America, barn dances echoed with fiddles. In Japan, tea houses buzzed with quiet conversation. In Europe, cafes brimmed with writers, artists, and curious thinkers. Across all these settings, one shared constant was the sky, wide, endless, dotted with stars. People paused under it after long days, finding in its quiet expanse a moment of stillness. Science, inventions, and technology. The year 1924 was alive with curiosity. This was the year of the first round-the-world flight. US Army aviators in 4 Douglas World cruisers set off to circle the globe. After many months and countless challenges, 2 planes completed the journey, proving that the world, vast as it seemed, could be crossed by human ingenuity. In medicine, progress came quietly but surely. Scientists studied vaccines, X-rays, and vitamins, deepening understanding of health. Hospitals saw advances in surgical methods and treatments, though antibiotics were still a dream waiting on the horizon. Electricity spread further into homes. Light bulbs replaced candles and oil lamps, turning evening routines into brighter, longer affairs. The gentle buzz of electricity became a background hum of modern life. In Germany, the television took a step forward as inventor John Logie Baird began experimenting with transmitting moving images. Though crude and flickering, these first trials hinted at a future where pictures could move across wires, filling living rooms with sight as well as sound. Factories grew more efficient, trains sped faster, and ocean liners offered journeys across the Atlantic in comfort. For many, though, wonder was found in simpler inventions: a better washing machine, a reliable pocket watch, or even a new kind of fountain pen. Culture and the art. The arts of 1924 shimmered with creativity. In literature, E. M. Forster published A Passage to India, exploring themes of culture, identity, and belonging under colonial rule. The novel stirred reflection among readers and remains a classic today. On stage, the plays of Noel Coward charmed audiences with wit and humor, while silent films filled theaters with stars like Charlie Chaplin and Rudolph Valentino. Movie palaces with velvet seats and glowing chandeliers offered audiences escape into shimmering worlds. Music, too, thrived. Jazz pulsed through clubs in New York and Chicago. This year, George Gershwin premiered Rhapsody in Blue, blending classical and jazz in a way that astonished listeners. Its opening clarinet glissando seemed to stretch like a sunrise, welcoming a new era of sound. Art movements blossomed across Europe. Surrealist painters toyed with dreams and imagination, while architects embraced clean lines and modern designs. In Paris, Ernest Hemingway and F. Scott Fitzgerald shared words in cafes, shaping what would later be called the Lost Generation. Sports offered delight. Babe Ruth hit baseballs out of stadiums, thrilling fans, while football, soccer, drew crowds in Europe, their cheers carrying across muddy fields. Culture. In 1924 was a reflection of hope, an eagerness to create, to express, to play, and to dream. Media and headlines. Imagine unfolding a crisp newspaper in 1924. The ink leaves faint smudges on your fingertips, and the headlines greet you with a mix of weight and whimsy. Coolidge wins in landslide. Lenin dead in Moscow. First winter, Olympics begin in Chamonix. Flight around the world completed. Gershwin's new music astonishes audiences. Between these, smaller notes filled the pages. Local fairs, a cow that wandered onto a train track, new fashion shops opening, and advertisements for soap promising pure comfort. A pair of shoes might cost $6, a phonograph $25, and a newspaper itself just a few cents. People read these headlines at breakfast tables, in trams, or by lamplight. The world seemed vast but reachable, a collection of stories stitched together, much like our own today. People born and people who died this year. Among those born in 1924 were many who would later shape the century. Marlon Brando, destined to be one of the greatest actors of his generation. Jimmy Carter, who would become the 39th President of the United States, and Lauren Bacall, whose smoky voice and elegance would enchant cinema. This year also saw farewells. The world lost Vladimir Lenin, whose ideas had shaken history. The composer Giacomo Puccini passed away, leaving behind operas filled with passion and melody. Each departure left quiet echoes, while each birth carried seeds of future stories. As 1924 drew to a close, the world exhaled. In bustling cities, holiday lights shimmered across snowy streets. Families gathered around fireplaces, sharing warm bread, cocoa, or perhaps just conversation. In villages, simple candlelight glowed in windows, reminding all who passed that warmth could be found even in the simplest of homes. The year had been one of cautious progress. Nations tested peace, scientists stretched imagination, and artists filled canvases and stages with color and song. It was not a perfect year, nor a calm one everywhere. But within its unfolding days, humanity sought ways to heal, to laugh, to dream. Looking back, 1924 feels like standing on a bridge. Behind lay the shadows of conflict, ahead stretched a horizon glowing with possibility. For those living it, tomorrow was uncertain. Yet there was always the comfort of routine, of familiar voices, of the moon rising again. And now, dear listener, as we let this year fade softly into memory, we carry with us its quiet rhythms, the footsteps on cobblestones, the laughter in cafes, the crackle of radios, and the timeless comfort of shared human hope. Thank you for wandering gently with me through the world of 1924. I hope these stories have settled around you like a blanket, easing your journey into rest. If you enjoyed this lullaby of history, I warmly invite you to like this video, subscribe to the channel, and join me again as we continue our travels through time. Until then, may your dreams be peaceful, your rest deep, and your heart light. Good night, and sleep well.